Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Talk, Learn, Teach, where every story teaches us something special about life and language. I'm Lily.
And I'm Jack. Lily, you look so energized today.
I am Jack because today we have something really special lined up for our viewers.
Before we dive in, friends, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button right now. Talk, Learn, Teach is all about bringing you real stories, real emotions, and real learning experiences.
Yes, and share this channel with anyone who loves learning through authentic conversations. Your support means the world to us.
Absolutely. So, Lily, what's our theme today?
Today, we're exploring transformation, how one decision, one moment can completely change the direction of someone's life.
Oh, that's powerful. Life transformation stories always touch my heart.
Mine too, and we have someone very special sharing their journey with us today. Her name is Maria, and trust me, her story will stay with you long after this video ends.
I'm already curious. Maria reached out to us last month, didn't she?
Yes, she sent us the most beautiful message about how a single conversation changed everything for her. She went from feeling completely lost to discovering her true purpose.
Really? Just from one conversation?
I know it sounds unbelievable, but wait until you hear the details. Maria has recorded her entire story for us, and Jack and I will pause throughout to discuss the important moments and lessons.
This is going to be incredible. Are you ready, everyone? Grab your coffee, tea, or whatever makes you comfortable because this is a journey worth taking.
Let's hear from Maria.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria, and I'm 28 years old. 2 years ago, I was living a life that looked perfect on the outside, but felt empty on the inside. I had graduated from university with good grades, found a stable job at a marketing firm, and rented a nice apartment downtown. Everyone congratulated me. My parents were proud. My friends thought I had it all figured out. But here's the truth. I woke up every single morning with this heavy feeling in my chest. Not physical pain, but emotional weight. Like I was living someone else's dream, not mine. My typical day started at 5:30 in the morning. The alarm would scream, and I'd hit snooze 3, sometimes 4 times. I'd finally drag myself out of bed around 6:15, already feeling defeated before the day even began. I'd stand in the shower, hot water running down my face, and sometimes I'd just cry. Not loud sobbing, just quiet tears mixing with the water. Nobody knew. Nobody could tell. After showering, I'd put on my business clothes, always gray or black, never anything bright. I felt like I was dressing for a funeral every day. Then I'd skip breakfast because I had no appetite, grab my bag, and rush to catch the 7:10 train. The train ride was 45 minutes of staring at my phone, scrolling mindlessly through other people's happy moments on social media, feeling more disconnected with each swipe. I'd arrive at the office by 8 o'clock, plaster on a smile, and greet my colleagues with, "Good morning, how are you?" even though I never felt good myself. My work involved creating advertising campaigns for products I didn't care about, targeting customers I didn't understand, all to meet numbers that felt meaningless to me. I'd sit at my desk from 8 until 6, sometimes later, staring at my computer screen, attending meetings where I nodded along but barely listened, and counting down the hours until I could leave. Lunch breaks were lonely. I'd eat a sandwich from the corner store at my desk while checking emails, surrounded by coworkers but feeling completely isolated. Sometimes colleagues invited me to join them, but I always made excuses. The truth was, I didn't have the energy to pretend to be happy for an entire lunch hour. Evenings were worse. I'd take the train home, arrive at my apartment around 7:30, order takeout food because I was too exhausted to cook, and then collapse on my couch. I'd turn on the television, not because I wanted to watch anything specific, but because the noise made me feel less alone. I'd scroll through my phone again, comparing my life to others, feeling smaller and smaller. Around 11 o'clock at night, I'd finally go to bed, but sleep never came easily. I'd lie there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how another day had passed, without meaning, without joy, without purpose. And then the alarm would ring again at 5:30, and the cycle would repeat. This went on for 2 years. 2 entire years of my life spent in this gray fog, going through the motions, surviving but not living. Then, one Saturday afternoon in April, everything changed. I was sitting alone in a small coffee shop near my apartment, a place I'd walked past 100 times but never entered. That day, something pulled me inside. Maybe it was the smell of fresh coffee, or maybe I was just tired of being in my apartment. I ordered a cappuccino and sat by the window, watching people pass by on the street. Families laughing together, couples holding hands, a little girl chasing pigeons with pure joy on her face. And I felt nothing, just emptiness. That's when an older woman, probably in her 70s, approached my table. She had kind eyes and a gentle smile. "Excuse me, dear, would you mind if I sat here? All the other tables are taken." I looked around. The cafe was actually half empty, but something in her eyes made me say yes. She sat down, and for a few minutes we didn't speak. Then she looked at me and said something I'll never forget. "You look like someone carrying the weight of the world, but forgetting to carry yourself."
Oh my goodness, Jack. Can we just pause here for a moment?
Yes, that line, carrying the weight of the world but forgetting to carry yourself, that's incredibly profound.
I felt that in my soul. How many of us go through life exactly like Maria described, looking fine on the outside but crumbling on the inside?
It's heartbreaking, honestly. The way she described her morning routine, hitting snooze, crying in the shower, forcing smiles at work, that's not just exhaustion, that's a person losing themselves.
And nobody around her knew. That's what gets me. She was surrounded by people every day, colleagues, neighbors, people on the train, and yet she felt completely invisible.
The isolation she described during lunch breaks, eating alone at her desk, making excuses to avoid connection, that resonated with me deeply.
Me too. And then this stranger, this older woman in the coffee shop sees her, really sees her, not just her physical presence, but her emotional state.
And notice how the cafe was half empty, but the woman said all tables were taken? That was intentional, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Sometimes the universe sends us exactly who we need, exactly when we need them. Let's continue with Maria's story.
I stared at this woman, shocked. I hadn't spoken to anyone about how I felt. Not my parents, not my friends, not anyone. And here was a complete stranger who saw through me in seconds. "I'm fine," I stammered, which was my automatic response to everything. She smiled knowingly. "Darling, I'm 73 years old. I've learned to recognize when someone is just fine versus when someone is actually okay. And you, my dear, are just fine." Tears started forming in my eyes. I tried to blink them away, but one escaped and rolled down my cheek. "I don't even know what's wrong with me," I whispered. "I have a good job, a nice place to live, I'm healthy. I should be happy, but I'm not." She reached across the table and gently touched my hand. "Darling, happiness isn't about checking boxes on a list society gave you. It's about alignment, when what you do matches who you are." "But I don't know who I am," I admitted, and saying those words out loud broke something open inside me. We talked for 3 hours that afternoon. Her name was Eleanor, and she told me about her own life, how she had spent 30 years as a lawyer, successful and respected, but feeling hollow. Then, at 52, she made a radical change. She quit her job, moved to a small town, and became an art teacher at a community center. "Everyone thought I was having a crisis," she laughed, but it was the opposite. I was finally waking up from a crisis I'd been living in for decades. She asked me questions nobody had ever asked. What made me lose track of time? What did I do as a child that brought me pure joy? If money wasn't a concern, how would I spend my days? I talked about how I used to love writing stories as a teenager, how I'd fill notebooks with poems and short tales, how I'd spend hours at the library lost in books, how I dreamed of becoming a writer but was told it wasn't practical or stable. So I chose marketing instead, a safe career, a smart choice, and I'd been dying slowly ever since. Eleanor looked at me with such compassion. Maria, you're 28 years old. You have so much life ahead of you. What if you gave yourself permission to try? Not to quit everything tomorrow, but to start making small steps toward what actually lights you up. That conversation planted a seed, a tiny seed of hope.
This is what I love about authentic human connection. Eleanor didn't give Maria generic advice like just be positive or things will get better.
Exactly. She shared her own vulnerability first. She showed Maria that transformation is possible, no matter your age or circumstances.
And those questions she asked, what makes you lose track of time? That's such a powerful question because it gets to the heart of passion.
When Maria talked about writing stories as a teenager, filling notebooks with poems, you could feel the light coming back into her voice, couldn't you?
Yes, and the sadness in realizing she'd abandoned her true self for practicality and safety. How many people make that same choice?
Too many, Jag. Society tells us to play it safe, choose the secure path, don't take risks. But safety without fulfillment is just a comfortable cage.
That's beautifully put. Let's hear what happened next. This is what I love about authentic human connection. Eleanor didn't give Maria generic advice like just be positive or things will get better.
Exactly. She shared her own vulnerability first. She showed Maria that transformation is possible, no matter your age or circumstances.
And those questions she asked, what makes you lose track of time? That's such a powerful question because it gets to the heart of passion.
When Maria talked about writing stories as a teenager, filling notebooks with poems, you could feel the light coming back into her voice, couldn't you?
Yes, and the sadness in realizing she'd abandoned her true self for practicality and safety. How many people make that same choice?
Too many, Jag. Society tells us to play it safe, choose the secure path, don't take risks. But safety without fulfillment is just a comfortable cage.
That's beautifully put. Let's hear what happened next.
The Monday after meeting Eleanor, I woke up at 5:30 to the same alarm, but instead of hitting snooze, I got up immediately. I made myself breakfast, something I hadn't done in months, and I sat down with a pen and paper. I started writing, just thoughts at first, stream of consciousness, but then a story started forming about a woman who lived in a gray world until she met someone who showed her colors existed. I wrote for 30 minutes before work, and for the first time in 2 years, I arrived at the office with energy, real energy, not caffeine-induced fake alertness. That week, I made a decision. I would keep my job, I needed the income, but I would also keep writing. Every morning, 30 minutes. No excuses, no negotiation. The first month was hard. Some mornings I had no ideas. Some mornings I wrote complete garbage, but I showed up. Day after day, I showed up for myself. I also started making other small changes. I began saying yes when colleagues invited me to lunch. I started wearing colorful scarves and jewelry to work. I took a different route home sometimes, exploring neighborhoods I'd never visited. 3 months later, I had written 15 short stories. They weren't perfect, but they were mine. I felt alive again. I submitted one story to a small online magazine, fully expecting rejection. 2 weeks later, they accepted it. They actually wanted to publish my work. I screamed so loud in my apartment that my neighbor knocked on the wall. That publication led to another, then another. I started a blog where I shared my writing. People began reading it, commenting, sharing it. I wasn't famous or anything, but I was connecting with others through my words, and it felt magical. After a year of writing every single morning, I made the biggest decision of my life. I reduced my marketing job to part-time, taking a significant pay cut, so I could dedicate more hours to writing. My parents were worried. "Are you sure about this?" they kept asking. But for the first time, I was sure about something. Now, 2 years later, after meeting Eleanor in that coffee shop, I work 3 days a week in marketing to pay my bills, and the rest of my time, I write. I've published a collection of short stories, I teach creative writing workshops on weekends, and I'm working on my first novel. Do I make as much money as before? No. Is my life more complicated? Sometimes. But am I happy? Genuinely, deeply happy. I still wake up at 5:30, but now I jump out of bed, excited to write. I still take the train, but now I notice the sunrise, the interesting people, the small, beautiful details I missed before. I still work, but now I'm building something that matters to me. The heavy feeling in my chest? Gone. The tears in the shower? Replaced with songs I sing off-key. The gray clothes? Now I wear every color of the rainbow because my life finally has color again. I ran into Eleanor 6 months ago at the same coffee shop. When she saw me, her face lit up. "You're glowing," she said. I hugged her so tight. "You saved my life," I whispered. She pulled back and looked at me seriously. "No, darling, you saved your own life. I just reminded you that you could." And that's the truth. Eleanor didn't rescue me, she didn't have all the answers, but she saw me, she listened to me, and she showed me that change was possible. The rest? That was my choice, my daily commitment, my courage to take small steps towards a life that actually felt like mine. If anyone listening right now feels like I felt 2 years ago, trapped, lost, going through the motions, please know this. It's never too late to start becoming who you were meant to be. Start small. Start today. Write for 30 minutes. Take a different route home. Have a real conversation with a stranger. Plant seeds of change and trust that with time and care, they'll grow. You deserve a life that feels alive, and you have the power to create it. Thank you for listening to my story.
I need a moment, Jack.
Me too, Lily, me too. What a transformation. What a journey.
From crying in the shower every morning to singing in the shower. From forcing smiles to genuinely glowing with happiness. That's real change.
And it didn't happen overnight. That's what I want everyone to understand. Maria didn't quit her job the next day. She didn't make some dramatic overnight transformation.
Exactly. She started with 30 minutes of writing each morning. Just 30 minutes. Small, consistent daily action. That's how real change happens.
Can we talk about the rejection fear she overcame? Submitting that first story, fully expecting rejection, but doing it anyway, that takes courage.
And then screaming so loud when it got accepted that her neighbor knocked on the wall. I love that detail. That's pure, unfiltered joy.
The part that hit me hardest was when Eleanor said, "You saved your own life. I just reminded you that you could." Because that's the truth about mentorship, about inspiration.
Yes, nobody can live your life for you. Nobody can make your choices. But sometimes someone can hold up a mirror and help you see possibilities you'd forgotten existed.
And now Maria teaches creative writing workshops. She's becoming for others what Eleanor was for her. That's the beautiful cycle of transformation.
Smiles warmly. She went from feeling invisible to helping others find their voice. That's powerful, Jack.
You know what strikes me? Maria still faces challenges. She makes less money. Her life is more complicated sometimes. But she chose meaning over comfort, purpose over security.
And that's a choice each of us faces in different ways. Not everyone needs to quit their job or become a writer, but everyone deserves to feel alive in their own life.
Absolutely. Maybe it's 30 minutes of painting, or gardening, or learning a language, or volunteering. Whatever makes you feel like yourself.
Friends, If Maria's story touched your heart, we'd love to hear from you. What's one small step you could take today toward a life that feels more authentically yours?
Yes, please share in the comments below. Tell us your story. Tell us your dreams. Tell us what you're afraid of but want to try anyway.
And remember, every single person who made a big change started with a small step. Maria started with 30 minutes of writing. What will your 30 minutes be?
Also, if you haven't subscribed to Talk, Learn, Teach yet, what are you waiting for? We bring you real stories like this every week. Stories that inspire, teach, and remind us of our shared humanity.
Hit that subscribe button, share this video with someone who needs to hear Maria's message, and join our community of learners and dreamers.
We are building something special here, friends. A space where stories matter, where growth is celebrated, where vulnerability is strength.
And you're part of that. Every single one of you watching right now is part of this beautiful community.
So, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to Maria's journey. Thank you for being brave enough to consider your own transformation.
Before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Eleanor asked Maria, if money wasn't a concern, how would you spend your days?
That question haunts me in the best way, because it cuts through all the excuses and gets to the heart of who we really are.
So, ask yourself tonight, if I knew I couldn't fail, what would I try? If I trusted myself completely, what would I choose?
And then take one tiny step in that direction, just one, today.
We believe in you. We believe in your story. We believe in your transformation.
This is Talk, Learn, Teach, where every conversation is a chance to grow and every story is a chance to connect.
Until next time, friends.
Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep living a life that feels alive.
See you in the next story. And seriously, don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, subscribe, comment, share. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye, beautiful souls.